Are you looking to make your trainings and presentations way more engaging? In today's video, we're talking about how to gamify your trainings and presentations. Hey, I'm Coach Molle from Visibility Hacking Studios, and we help small businesses, coaches, visionary entrepreneurs level up their visibility online, get seen by more of their ideal customers so they can transcend them up to their products and services, so they can really actually make a difference in these customers' lives. And I love doing this. We all know that the sales process begins with a hook. It begins with the moment in which we are introduced to these potential customers. So for some of you, this might be a training or a presentation or a webinar, and we want to make sure that we're keeping people's attention. We don't want people dozing off to sleep. We want them actively engaged in creating this wonderful experience during your training or your presentation. So it doesn't just start when you open your mouth at the beginning of your training. It starts with understanding the systems, the process, and the why behind the strategy. So let's talk about gamification. Let's talk about creating incredible presentations. And you're not gonna want to miss this. First question straight out of the gate is, what is gamification? Gamification is using gaming strategies to motivate consistent engagement and long-term engagement in your presentation or your training or whatever it is that you're putting together. Think of it this way: we all know a gamer or someone who plays video games in our lives, and we know that they are consistently motivated. I used to stick people in MRI machines and I'd tell them different stories and see what parts of their brains lit up, and I've always been fascinated ever since I saw the beauty of the human brain work in that way. I have been obsessed with understanding how our brains work. And when we apply this to the world of trainings, presentations, and engagement, we can see that gaming and gamification lights our brains on fire in beautiful ways. Also sets off a lot of addiction centers and sends a lot of pleasure through the human body. And this all starts with a presentation. This all starts with a message that is being shared with them. So let's talk about using gamification strategies to mold your presentations and trainings in a way that's going to flood your viewers' brains with amazing, happy chemicals, as well as have them motivated to continue to listen and to engage and participate. This sounds interesting to you? Then you're going to want to stay tuned. In this video, I'm going to share with you what I learned about gamification after playing far too much Mario Brothers. I'll share with you 3 uncomplicated ways that you can level up. And of course, we're going to talk about how to get incredible results in your trainings. So if this interests you, stay tuned. See you after the intro. No matter if you're running a webinar or a short training, whether it's virtual or in person, whether you're running entire college semesters of trainings, it doesn't matter. The thing that I learned from playing years and years of Mario Brothers is the motivational power of badges and coins. You'd be surprised. We don't just give out participation ribbons for the sake of patting people on the head. The psychological side of giving people participation ribbons or awarding them at different stages in their journey is actually because we want to flood their brains with these chemicals that make them feel like they are successful and they are part of something bigger. So what does this look like in a small business online, for example? If you run a course online teaching people how to set their tables in the most immaculate ways possible, I'm just pulling out an idea here. Say that's the course that you teach people. How about at the end of every module, you award them with a badge or a coin or a sticker or a whatever you want to call it. Give them some sort of a reward at the end of each of those steps. How do we know this works? We know this works because that's what parents have been doing for their students since the dawn of time, it feels. Every year, parents will celebrate the end of the year with their students with some sort of award or graduation ceremony or something. We mark the beginning and end of each of these stages in our lives in a way that helps us, one, see that there is a difference between who we were before and who we are after that stage in our life. This is important because as you're teaching someone something, as you're training them on something, you want them to be different in some way, shape, or form when they exit that training than who they were when they came in. Even if it's as simple as knowing that there is a better path forward. This can be marked by having different celebrations at the end of each of these modules. Say you run a personal training program. Simple, you can have badges and awards for trying out new exercises, for completing or achieving certain weight loss or muscle growth goals. There are a variety of different ways that you can set out milestones for your people to achieve, and then just create opportunities for you to succeed in celebrating them. In the visibility hacking world, for example, we help small business owners and visionary entrepreneurs build live shows as part of their way of connecting to their ideal customers. So after a certain number of episodes, we have milestones in order to celebrate that continued success of our students. If you look inside of our programs, at the end of each module, there are badges that are awarded for our students. As they continue to grow through our community, we have bigger milestones as well. And so each and every one of those moments is celebrated at some way, shape, or form. So whether it's a digital badge they get, whether it's a sticker they get sent out, whether it's a swag kit they get, whether it's a shout out, whether it's a celebration at our awards ceremony or our graduation ceremony, whether we send them a golden trophy or whatnot, there are different ways of celebrating that success. So look for ways to consistently build in little moments of achievement. This can also be if you have competition between different sides of the room in your presentation. You can give them milestones for accomplishing certain tasks or certain learnings. Question of the day: do you find presentations that are quite obviously gamified more interesting and engaging? If you have, let me know some of the tips and techniques that you have seen presenters or trainers use in the past. Let us know down in the comments. So on an individual level, we know that we can be motivated by these badges or small incentives. But how do we apply this on a much larger scale? How can we use social psychology to help push the motivations of our people, to help get bigger results? In other words, how can we use psychology to level up our courses and our trainings? Simple. Let me show you. If you have a publicly posted leaderboard, your people will be significantly more motivated to participate. Not only will they be motivated to get themselves on the board in the first place, but they'll also be motivated to stay on the board, to keep those positions that they earned. So let's talk about 3 different techniques that use this social psychology to motivate for better results. First, having different levels. So say you have an online course, you're going to have different levels for people to unlock. That content is going to be hidden until they achieve that level. Pretty cool. They're going to want to continue to uncover hidden information. A different perspective on leveling, it can also be seen by the length or the duration of membership. That sounds super complicated, but say you have students who joined your program in its first round in January, and then you have another group of students who joined the program in its second round in April. So now, how do you give that January group a little bit more incentive, a little bit more prestige for having been and stuck around for longer? Simple, with leveling. This way, you give some sort of signifier to your January group, sort of star next to their name. This works really well, like when you have the verified checkmark on Twitter, for example. That is a leveler. That is a signifier of status. Same thing applies in your programs. Find ways to separate and show the level, which also will motivate people to want to achieve that level as well. How do I know this this is true? Well, it also works with mountain climbers. I know, I give you a lot of outdoor metaphors on this channel, but deal with it. Because when you're climbing Everest, for example, there are base camps, and there are camps along the way before you get to the peak, before you get to the ultimate top of the mountain. So there are people who spend their entire lives just getting the ability to climb to that first base camp. They're really cool. They have this certain status about them. But what we can do is also motivate them to go even further in their pursuit and try and get to the next level base camp, because we know that there's a different prestige and a different feeling for those who have gone past that first base camp, who have leveled above and beyond that. We want to create those opportunities for exclusivity, for access to exclusivity for our people. And it starts by creating different levels. Another way to use this social psychology is to create scoreboards. So you can actually give people scores, and that numerical value at the end of that scoreboard is going to motivate people to want to continue to participate, to get more points, to get more scores. So look for ways that you can build scoreboards into your presentations and your trainings. A cool way that you can do this if you want to use lots of technology is you can have your presentation viewers participate in virtual quizzes, for example. You can collect scores. You can give out different team scores for different activities. These scores, I promise you, are going to be really interesting motivators. And finally, we've already briefly talked on this, is to have a leaderboard. So if you have 50 students, for example, you pick your top 3, and those become your leaderboard. Their scores are posted. Things that they have done in order to get onto the scoreboard or onto that leaderboard are posted. This gives tools, strategies, and a roadmap for those who would like to beat them, to take them off that leaderboard and to replace them with themselves. That kind of camaraderie and social selling pressure will be definitely working to your advantage, and it will also benefit your students as well, because the more engaged our students are, whether we're training in a college or training in a corporate environment, or we're training online to our virtual environments, it doesn't matter. That motivation is going to benefit your students because they need to hear the information you have. They want to hear your message because your message truly does matter. I truly believe in the visions that you are putting out into the world, the messages that you are putting out into the world, the solutions that you are creating for your ideal customers really, really matter. And so it's my pleasure to help you along that journey. And if you'd like to join us more formally, then definitely make sure you hit the subscribe button and become an official visibility hacker here on the channel, so you get access to our videos right when they pop off, and you can get these strategies, tips, and tools for your small business right out of the gate. Now, if you want your students to have success in your programs, you're going to want to pay attention to this. I know when I started my businesses online for years, I was plagued with this thing that I couldn't quite understand. I didn't understand why it was happening, so I did a bit of investigating. What I'm talking about is the number of students I had who purchased my program or signed up for my training. They'd show up, but they'd never participate, or they didn't finish. Yeah, okay, I could say that's not that bad because I still had the money in my pocket, but my students weren't utilizing it, the tools I was teaching them. They weren't actually taking action. They weren't moving forward. They weren't having success because they weren't even taking action. So I wanted to find a way that I could tap into the motivators for those students. I could push them a little bit forward. I could create a system and a strategy and a framework that actually helped get my students results. Because no matter where your training is on your value ladder, that training is going to establish your authority. We want them to achieve results because that solidifies our authority even more. So what's the secret, Molly? Enough stories, we want the secret, right? Easy. You need to build challenges. So think about building a 30-day challenge or a 7-day challenge or a 14-day sprint, whatever you want to call it. Build in a small timeline and big action. And believe me, great things come in small packages. How do I know this is true? It's true because I tested it out myself. We ran the exact same program. We offered it to 2 different groups. The only difference between the product that Group A was working through and the product that Group B was working through was how it was formatted. One group had it formatted as a challenge. There was a date that they needed to accomplish it by. There was a timeline that they needed to keep up with. All of that stuff was for the first group. And the second group, we ran it just like an open program. You can watch the videos when you feel like it, and let us know when you complete it. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That group that had free range, they finished at about a 20% finish rate. That means 2 of every 10 students actually completed the course. And it was even more embarrassing when you looked at how many students actually consumed the content. On the other hand, when we offered the same content in a different package, in a package that had a timeline, a deadline, action steps, we marketed it as a challenge, everything changed. Then we saw 60% of the students were completing the course and actually graduating. We had 1 in 4 students who were actually going through the materials. And we had 90% of our students actually start the program, be engaged with the program. And those numbers speak for themselves. So if you want to see more engagement, if you want to see more students taking your message and moving forward with it, if you want to see more action from your trainings, then you're going to want to use gamification. If you want help using these tools and strategies in your trainings, if you want to build massive visibility, you want to build a platform that's going to connect to your ideal customers, regardless of how big your following is, regardless of how long you've been in business, regardless of how big your competitors are, then let me personally invite you to join us in the visibility hacking world. Join us over at visibilityhacking.com. Click the link at the top of the page. It says become a visibility hacker, and that'll pop you over into our Facebook group. We would love to see you over there. Bring any of your questions, comments, concerns, or jokes of the knock-knock variety, and we'll see you very, very soon. As I tell you every day, remember, I love you, be excellent to each other, and just go live, because your people are out there waiting for you.